Welcome back to the Sly Guy TV. You are watching the Sly Guy, Kaboom Kaboom, and Super Kaboom Oh Yeah. Here we go. Kaboom Oh Yeah, Kaboom Oh Yeah. It's the Petro, it's the Retro, it's the Petro with the Potence. It's the Necropotence. Necropotence and then Necropotence. It was coming right here and right there. Pay 1 life and draw a card. Oh yeah, this was before a trash rare. I have offended you again, so I guess this is the end. Because everybody knows you're such a snowflake and you're just quite upset at every single thing we said. Everybody knows it's all just in your head. Wasted feeling, going, speaking. You know why you've crossed the line when I said that you were mine. Going, skiing, no hard feelings. Since you will not be my girl, this is the end of my own world. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Sly Guy TV. Now, we go back to the 1990s, 94, 95, to Ice Age. This was the time when I started Magic the Gathering. 4th edition Ice Age Chronicles. That era was one of the most iconic eras ever because Ice Age was the very first standalone set with Magic. Unlike before where you had Revised, you had 4th edition, you had Alpha, Beta, Unlimited. Ice Age was the very first expansion which had its own starter decks, its own set of lands, its own set of knights, its own set of duels, like the Pain Lands, right? And its own set of burn with lava burst, incinerates, pump knights. It had everything on its own, and it was standalone, so you could play Ice Age by itself without combining it with other sets. But that would be dumb because you basically would have a stronger deck if you combined it with other sets. When Ice Age came out, this card was laughed at a lot. Even I had no idea what the card, why people would even play this card. Necropotence, when you got back then, when you got a Necropotence, you'd throw it in the trash. It's like, I can't use this. Pay life, skip my draw step. What? I'm gonna hose myself in this game. I mean, I can't use this card. Throw it away. However, when Mark Justice decided to pilot the very first Necro deck, he noticed that one thing that one player games is card advantage. Card advantage is being able to draw multiple cards in one turn. In the late game, like in the early game, you start out with 7 cards in hand. Once you start emptying your hand, especially for aggressive decks, the game would come to a halt and you would just top deck, play 1 card per turn. Necropotence changed that because in the late game, Necropotence would allow you to draw 7 new cards. 7, 10, 50, it depends on how much life you're willing to pay. You can draw multiple cards at the end of a turn. And basically in a black deck, which use the order of, we have on hand the Knights of Stromgeld, the Black Knights, Hypnotic Specters. This was insane at the time. People could not deal with the card advantage that Necro had, especially in the late game. Now combine this with cards that allowed you to draw to gain life, like Ivory Tower, Drain Life, as well as other spells, then the card advantage would be more significant. Now, another way of gaining card advantage with Necro is with land destruction. Now before, back in the 90s, we used Icequake because Icequake was readily accessible. Sinkholes were so difficult to find back then because Alpha Beta Unlimited wasn't readily available in stores. And we didn't have any online stores, no Judy and Mary marketing, no Card Kingdom, no Channel Fireball, nothing. We just had our local game stores back then. So, Sinkhole destroys any one land. Okay? Strip Mine destroys any one land. Combined that 8 land destruction spells allow you to constantly nuke your opponent's land by wrecking it and wrecking it and wrecking it, destroying. Now, my version didn't have this way back in the 90s, but it does now. Because this stuff is easier to get online. You can go to Card Market and you can just have this shipped to a relative in Europe and then have him mail it to you. Juzam the Jin. Yeah, Juzam the Jin. So, a 5/5 for 4 mana is not that great by today's standards. Because right now you get 5/5s for 3 mana. Sometimes even 5/5s for 2 mana within Soul Artifact. But Juzam the Jin back then was the holy grail of creatures. 5/5, 4 mana, does 1 damage to you during your upkeep. And attack, you had Necro, you had Terrors, Creature Elimination. Man, you'd finish off a game with a huge 5/5 Destroyer. That is one thing that people should definitely watch out for. So, how does the deck look? Well, let's have a look at my Necro deck, yeah. So there we have it. Yep, see? They're the main cards. Sinkhole, my Beta Sinkhole, Ice Age Necropotence, and Arabian Nights Juzam the Jin. They are the cornerstones of the current Necro deck. Now, back then, I used Mono Black Discard. I really didn't want to use Necro because I didn't like the idea of paying life. And at the time, most people were using Necro. I had Lightning Bolts and Incinerates in my deck. So if they were careless and would Necro in the late game to really low life totals, to like 6 or 5 life, better watch out, because I'm gonna Lightning Bolt you, I'm gonna Incinerate you, and I'm gonna end the game before you can use that drain life, or before you can sacrifice those lands to Zuran Orb. Now, if I started bolting them and they'd sacrifice their lands to Zuran Orb, they would get the disadvantage, because they would lose lands, especially in the late game. Especially back in the 90s where mana bases were not optimized yet. People were playing like 4 Strip Mines, 4 Mishra's Factories, and just like 12 Swamps. So, yeah, big disadvantage. Huge disadvantage. Especially since they stuck with 20 lands, most of them. So there you see the Black Knight. There you'd see the Drain Lives. And yeah, Hymn to Torak, still one of the best spells ever. In fact, did you know that way back in the 90s, Hymn to Torak got restricted? They actually restricted it because it was way too powerful. Or maybe a lot of players were just complaining, and Wizards was once again listening to them complain. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to ban or to restrict anything. Yeah, there we go. So there's your Drain Life. There is a Black Knight. Wipe up the game, the Knights of Stromgald. I mean, the art, the flavor of cards before were different. I mean, they really looked ancient. They really looked magical. They really looked cool with the old frames. Now, the cards look like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Sorry to be, well, not a bad thing because Yu-Gi-Oh, but actually Yu-Gi-Oh has a better, who is this guy? Okay, now we have an ad. Shop beep 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 beep. Ah, go away. Okay, there we have it. So once again, this is the Sly Guy TV with the Sly Guy, Sly Guy, Sly Guy. We are signing off right now, yeah! It's important, it's important! It's the Necropotence, coming right now! Necropotence, it is coming right now! Necropotence, it is coming right now! Everybody knows this card, it was a trash